Welcome to Life Talk, a production of Maranatha Ministries, with Shoshannah Frank Rausch, a ministry director at Maranatha, and Jene Gardner, president of Phoenix Rising Counseling Services. These lifelong friends discuss the spiritual and emotional challenges that face us all. Using biblical characters and personalities, they help us see that we are not alone in any of our emotions, positive or negative, and show us how we can be more than conquerors. If you'd like to speak with either Shoshannah or Jene, you can reach them by email at lifetalk@mmchurch.com. And now be blessed by today's presentation of Life Talk.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I feel like it's been forever now that we're doing it every other week.
I want to apologize to everybody.
I know we're doing it
Jene.
every other week, and then Dad filled in 2 weeks ago, so it feels like it's just been forever and a lifetime.
It really has.
But
my life is chaos.
How's school going?
Good. It's going really good. Yeah, starting week 6 tomorrow. So
how long before we can call you Dr. Gardner?
Oh, it'll still be a little ways. I'll let you guys know. Yeah, I will definitely let you know. We'll see. But yeah.
So I figure we could come back with a bang.
Why not? Why not? Let's do it.
It's been a hot minute since we've been on here. So why not come back with a bang? And the topic we're going to do today is a topic that is, well, for lack of a better word, it's kind of taboo, right? Mm-hmm. Within church. Right. It's a topic that a lot of churches are uncomfortable even touching. Mm-hmm. But what got us on this topic is, I was talking to my mother-in-law, and then you and I were talking and got to talking about a story that we had heard about 2 adolescents, and the topic we're going to do is pornography. Mm-hmm. That's a
taboo,
loaded topic.
It is, but much needed. Like, we need to have these real frank conversations.
I feel like the church is just now coming around to like accepting like mental health and talking about therapy and the importance of it. And it doesn't mean that you're less than, and it doesn't mean that you're not spiritual or have a relationship with God. But I feel like pornography is still kind of that like untouched subject. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
It's an uncomfortable subject. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people really know how to address it. Yes. And yet it's such a huge issue. Mm-hmm. And it's not a huge issue in the secular world. Right. It's a huge issue in the church.
It is. Yep.
I was looking over some and the reason why I got on this topic is the story that we heard was an adolescent who sexually abused another adolescent. And the reason they gave was because they had seen pornography and they became interested. Yeah. And it was more inquisitive that this whole, situation went down. And I have a 2.5-year-old son. You have a son. Yep. And we got to talking, and this is a serious issue with our young people, mm-hmm. and adults. They're getting cell phones now. Mm-hmm. We didn't have cell phones growing up.
No.
And it's at their fingertips. If you're not a parent that's really paying attention to what your kids are doing, it's right at their fingertips. But I read some staggering statistics on a couple of things that I've read, and it was actually prefaced with these are numbers that were before the pandemic. They expect these numbers to be a bit higher now.
Sure.
That's scary when you hear the numbers I'm going to read. Okay. So among males 18 to 30 years old, 79% have viewed pornography on a monthly basis.
Wow.
63% are viewing it greater than once a week.
Wow.
And they're expecting these numbers to be higher since COVID.
Yeah, the pandemic. Yeah, sure.
31 to 49 years old men, 67 view once a month. 38% view more than once a week. Mm-hmm. Jumping down to females, 18 to 30 years old for females. They're not quite as viewed as men, but 35% view pornography once a month, and 19% view pornography more than once a month. And then the 31 to 49 year is 16% once a month and 8%. So as you can see, it affects the males, obviously, a little bit more. and I'm going to you're going to jump in on the psychology aspect of it. But I know a couple of the things on the older side, and I'm sure this might affect on the younger side. And it's scary because pornography, one of the things that they said that males demonstrate is an increased callousness toward women, and they consider the crime of rape to be less serious.
Yeah.
And another thing that I read was that when they're viewing something, they tend to it's almost as if they become immune to that, and they have to start watching things that are more aggressive, more aggressive, more aggressive, more aggressive. Yeah. So I'm gonna let you run with the psychological aspect of pornography and how damaging it is to our brains and to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just what you said earlier too is like this does need to be kind of talked about, and I think anything when it comes to like just sex in general is like one of those topics that people really do struggle. When I'm doing like marriage counseling with people, often they're not even comfortable having those conversations with each other when it is maybe there is an issue there, you know. So I think that that it is about really kind of knowing about these things and being able to have those conversations, but I kind of took it from this aspect of looking at there's about $2.84 billion industry with the porn industry a year. And then they said that actually it's probably increased even more after the pandemic as well. And a lot of studies
and with that money, I mean, we read that, what was it, over 40,000? There's over 40,000 pornographic websites right now, and that's probably higher now too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it is a billion-dollar industry a year. And a lot of the research that I did actually indicated that their target audience is for adolescent, you know, young college age kids, that is the target audience. And so it would really line up with your statistics as well, saying that the older population does view it less than like the younger population.
The 18 to 30.
Why I'm thinking like, why do they target this? And it's really interesting because as our brains develop, our adolescent brain is so it's malleable, it's learning, and it's not really fully developed until like about 21 years of age. And so in looking at brain scans that they've done, they've actually said that the level of intensity of dopamine and serotonin, endorphins that kind of get exacerbated during watching or viewing pornographic websites in adults is different than it is for adolescents. It's actually like in adolescents, it's up to 4 times more powerful. So it's, you think about it, if it's more powerful and it's more gratifying, it's more addictive for that age group. And so looking at, you know, just there's 4 times more. So these people who are behind those porn websites doing these things, they know what they're doing. Like they know what the research is. They know, like, you know, what to kind of put out there. And it is getting younger and younger. And you're right. It's absolutely like part of like having this, you know, access to cell phones. So as a parent, I mean, it's just more about, okay, making sure you're monitoring, you're putting safeguards on your kid's phone. I take YouTube off my kid's phone, right? Because it's not even a pornographic website, but you can still find things that are completely inappropriate, you know, on YouTube. So,
and talking about kids, Jene, a lot of these surveys and a lot of these things, these statistics that they have, these people that are saying that they're watching it weekly or monthly, a lot of them, I want to say it's like 70% or 72% of these people have seen pornography. Their first introduction to it was between the ages of 8 and 10.
Yes.
I mean, how old is Caleb?
Caleb's 12. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you're looking at, you know, 2 to 4 years younger than him that are seeing pornography for the first time.
Absolutely. And looking at even statistics, even for like college age kids, like a survey that I read actually said that 87% of college age students admitted to having like sexting over the phone or sending nudes or even doing like sexual acts over the phone. So 87%, you don't graduate to doing those things unless you've been exposed to
Right.
doing things, at a different, like less invasive like measure. And so I just remembering even with the brain, that your brain stores these images. This is something you're never going to be able to forget. It's for the adolescent brain, the first time that they watch something like that, that memory is stored. And then you think, okay, it's going to be really hard. When we've given our lives to God and when we've repented over things, and then you think about things that we feel bad about still, or we have some guilt over and have to say, okay, I know God forgave me for that. It's different when you're acting on something versus having a visual reminder that's there often. And like, you better believe it, that the enemy knows that that's a tactic that's a weakness, right? And so just with the damaging effects for these things is like, it gives a false sense of love, gives a distorted sense of what love is, what healthy love is, what healthy relationships are. And and that's the thing. I mean, I could tell you numerous stories about, couples that this has really damaged their relationship because of the way that one or more views it. And I appreciate the fact that you even brought up like statistics for women, because I don't think that, maybe way back in the day that really wasn't a common thing, but it is becoming more common for women to also participate in this act. So it's not just for men, but it is also like women are doing this as well.
Yeah. One of the studies that they did, they came up with some stats here and some things and a couple of them, they said that the subjects became more interested in more extreme and deviant forms of pornography, which is what you and I had talked about a little bit earlier, was that you almost become immune to what you're watching.
Yeah.
But they were also more likely to say they were dissatisfied with their spouses or with their sexual partners. They were more accepting of sexual infidelity in relationships. They valued marriage less. They were twice as likely to believe marriage may become obsolete.
Yeah.
That is what this is doing to our world. It's destroying our world.
It is.
Listen to this. Men experienced a decreased desire for children, and women experienced a decreased desire to have a daughter.
Huh. That's interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then subjects showed a greater acceptance of female promiscuity.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe that. And, you think about that saying that sin will take you further than you want to go and keep you longer than you want to stay. And so it is like, once that door is open, and that's kind of like what we try to teach our kids too, is like, hey, like once you say yes to something, or once you, participate in something, that door is open, and then you don't know what road that's going to lead you down. Right. And so in those images and those things that you're not going to be able to forget, it is an addiction. It is addiction. And I've had numerous years of experience working with addiction, and just knowing that, like with anybody that I've met with that has any form of addiction, there's usually some pornography also attached to it. There's trauma that's attached to it. There's all of these things. And so really, as a parent, kind of like looking for warning signs, or like, what can we do? Like having these real conversations, we've had the conversation of porn with my kids, unfortunately we had to, because something came up, not in my home, but something that they were told. And so having those real conversations about what it is and how damaging it is, but looking at porn definitely will cause low motivation. The inability to stay concentrated on stuff, it causes depression, social anxiety. And the big thing too is like a negative self-perception of who you are. And so just, my thought is like, definitely have those conversations if your kids are old enough. But I mean, really, honestly, at like 10 years old, kids are getting exposed to this, more so.
Absolutely.
So and
real quick, and we're gonna wrap this up. But real quick, what are some signs that parents can kind of look for? Because here's the deal.
Yeah.
We as a church, we as parents, I don't care if you're in the church or not, we as parents need to safeguard our children.
Yes. Yep.
We need to have these conversations, as uncomfortable as they are. The church, we need to talk about it. We need to teach about it. What are some signs that we can look for? I read one that depression in adolescence, anxiety.
Yep. Yeah, those are definitely some of the big ones. But just remember too, before I answer that question, just remember that this is what the enemy wants, right? Is because if he can get our young people and if he can get this, then that's the future of our church. And so he wants to destroy what he can because he wants to end that. But some warning signs that I would say is, maybe putting a password on the phone when there wasn't a password before. I encourage you to get passwords of your kids' phones. Check your phones. Check them. Kids are really smart. They're really good at hiding things, cleaning history off their Google browser, all of these things. But I would say more isolation, like where they're like locking their bedroom door, maybe where they weren't doing that before, really being secretive about their phone or their computer usage. I would highly encourage no computer to be in any kid's room, put the computer in a local spot, like where people can see it and kind of be a part of it. But also just like looking at that, like increased irritability, some depression, some social isolation. Those are some warning signs, that, and out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So there will be like even things that they're talking about or just the way that they're behaving. You'll see some things that are different in their behavior. And sometimes we're like, oh, that's just normal adolescence or that. But really, like, it is worth a conversation to have, to just kind of see. Check their rooms, like kind of talk about those things, have those real conversations, know their friends, get to know who their friends are, those type of things too, because that's also important. We need to know who they're hanging around. But those would be some like internal ones, as I would say, just increased secretiveness, maybe being in like a room for hours at a time and not coming out and not really being engaged with the family, those type of things. I would say, just kind of.
I like what you said about be aware of who your kids are hanging around and know their friends. Rich is only 2.5, and yet I'm very particular about who he's around, but who he's around when alone, or there's just certain situations that there's no point in. Just don't put your kids in certain situations.
Yeah, Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so this was a good conversation. I just want to end with a story, a thing that I read, and you and I talked about that church, where one of the pastors said they actually created a church porn site, which sounds terrible, but but there was a method to his madness. We are to be the light in the darkness, right? And so what he did was he created a link on his page, so church websites have contact us, and you can do the little / and contact us and go right to that. Well, he created a pornography one. And the reason why is anyone who would search pornography or pornography in Kansas City or wherever, his church website would pop up in the search browser. And so if someone clicked on it thinking that they were going to get pornography, they actually popped up a page on his website that had positive reinforcement, and it had links to, getting past your porn addiction. I think he said at one point, it says, we know that you're obviously looking for porn, but let us help you out of this darkness. Call us. It'll be confidential, and we'll talk to you. And and I, as crazy and ludicrous as it sounds, it's brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder how many people
it saves one person.
Yeah, for sure.
And he has help, like the self-help. He had a couple of links on there for self-help. You can click on it. One of them, I think there's a self-help website called xxxchurch.com for people that are, in church and struggling with porn addiction. And so he had these links on there, and I thought it was brilliant. And I'm almost contemplating pitching it to my dad. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll let him watch this first, and then we'll go from from there.
Somehow, I don't know. You better have some really good statistics.
It is our duty as the church to talk about these things, and to safeguard not just our young people, not just our adolescents. Our job is to safeguard us, the sheep of the church. And there's so many people that are struggling, and this is such a huge issue.
It is.
That listen, if us talking about it gets things rolling, then so be it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great conversation. It was fun getting to talk to you again. It's been forever.
Absolutely.
And we'll be here 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Same time, same place.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
I'll talk to you later. Have a great